Good morning, everyone. Before we get started today, I wanted to ask you to support one of our affiliate partners, CHOQ, C-H-O-Q. This company uses the finest organic, non-GMO ingredients in their products. Our featured product today is CHOQ Lit Powder. I use it every morning in my coffee, making it the most nutritious coffee mocha on the planet. It's delicious. Absolutely delicious. To find out more, click the link below. They have sales all the time, so hurry and get yours today. Thank you. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Hey, good morning, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful night's sleep. I sure did. It's wonderful. Me and my wife had a great weekend, and it's Monday. Yeehaw. So, hope your weekend went well. Today, we're going to talk about something that I always thought was really, really strange and really interesting. And it has to do with the fig tree. Now, there's two specific things that we're going to talk about today. But first, I want to talk about this fig tree thing and my ideas around it. Set in the backstage here in this story is that, it was Jesus had sent a couple disciples in to get a donkey so that he could ride into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey. And people were laying their clothing down on the ground and laying palm leaves down and all of that stuff so he could walk into the city without touching the ground. And he was on the back of the donkey and stuff like that. And, so it was during this process. And the timeline is different with the scriptures here because in Matthew, Jesus takes care of the temple first, and in what was that? In Mark, he takes care of the temple after the fig tree thing. So it's kind of weird. The timeline was different. But you know how people go when they tell stories. That's not real significant. But the story here is kind of interesting, and I thought that I would give you my insight on it as as another perspective on the story. So there's a little backstory. So we're going to be starting at in Matthew chapter 21. Verse 17. Now, he just spent the night in a small town just outside of Jerusalem. Oh. Then he left them and went out of the city to Bethany, and he lodged there. Now, in the morning, he was returning to the city. And he was hungry. And seeing a fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it but leaves. And said to it, "Let no fruit grow on you ever again." And immediately the fig tree withered away. Isn't that weird? Why would he do that? In Mark, it tells us a little bit more about this. In Mark chapter 11, verse 12, it says, "Now the next day, when they had come out of Bethany, he was hungry, and seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, he went to see if perhaps he could find something on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not yet the season for figs. In response, Jesus said to it, "Let no one eat fruit from you ever again." Then Jesus cleanses the temple. I think he was hangry. That probably puts it in a little more context there. So he cursed the fig tree, and then he cleanses the temples and said, "Hey, get all your stuff out of here. You've made my house a den of thieves." And then as they passed by the fig tree, it was dried up from its roots. So why did this happen? Why did Jesus literally kill a fig tree? Why did he do that? It just seems kind of weird to me, because Jesus knows that it's not the season for figs. I mean, he was probably hoping that there might be one or two still left on there, because he was getting kind of hangry here. And he's like, hey, there's nothing on here. My thought around this is that everything in nature has a choice. Now, perhaps the tree and Jesus were communicating with each other. It's possibilities. Seems realistic, with the creator of the universe being able to communicate with all living things. Plants and herbs and trees are alive, aren't they? So perhaps there was this communication thing going on, and Jesus was like, hey, fig tree, do me a solid, man. Sprout out some figs there for me. Wouldn't that have been a cool miracle? That Jesus made it grow figs when it wasn't in season? So the tree probably said, no, I have a policy. I only grow figs during this period of time. I must follow my rules. My rules say that I only grow figs during a certain period of time. And there's a process to it. Other things have to happen before I grow figs. It's the rules. It's the law. And perhaps Jesus was like, hey, man, come on. Come on. Give me a solid. I'm trying to teach my guys something here. Either way, they're going to learn. So you might as well give me some figs. Now, Jesus might have been a little hangry, and, maybe chose a different route here because of that. We know how food and things like that can affect our emotions in one way or another. And then Jesus was like, when he approached the tree, and the tree was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And Jesus says, all right. Well, if I can't have any, no one can. So here you go. Let no one eat fruit from you ever again. And in Matthew, the tree immediately withered away. But in Mark, it was a little time later. But either way, the tree is dead. God took its essence, its life force, away from it. Brought it back home as a demonstration for the disciples to ask the question. Hey, what's up there, man? So consider that that's possibly what occurred here. It seems logical to me that that was the process. You know, would have been an even greater story if the fig tree had complied and said, "Yeah, all right." Another lesson here is what happens to you when you don't do what God asks you to do. Aha. See? Use the gifts or lose them. You see, live and practice the principles of God. Be blessed or not, and be cursed. Another good lesson there. I know. Can you believe it? So, the lesson behind the fig tree is twofold. Either you obey God and do what He asks you to, and you have choice. And of course, all choice comes with consequences. But you do have choice. You can choose to do it or not. Yeah. Pretty cool. All right. Now, God wants me to train to standard and not to time. So the next story will really blow your mind. Continuing forward, put on my magic glasses so I can see the Word of God more clearly. Now, when the disciples saw it, they marveled. We're at verse 20. They marveled, saying, "How did the fig tree wither away so soon?" So Jesus said and answered to them, "Assuredly, I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also, if you say to this mountain, 'Be removed and be cast into the sea,' it will be done. And all things, whatsoever you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive." Pretty cool, huh? If you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also, if you say to this mountain, "Be removed and be cast into the sea," and it will happen. Cool, right? So, tell me, do you believe that? Do you believe that? I mean, we saw earlier that Jesus just walked up to the tree and cursed it. And he's telling us here that if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also, if you say to this mountain, "Be removed and be cast into the sea," it will be done. And all things whatsoever you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive. Interesting. How much faith does that take? Size of a grain of mustard seed. Only that much. That's much. That's all. That's all it takes. If that's all it takes, how come we don't see more? How come we don't see more miracles happening? Is it because we really don't have faith? That we really don't believe? Is it that we rationalize for these things? I've heard people rationalize about this. Well, what they're saying is that we will be able to make machines big enough to be able to move mountains with. Okay. What machine did Jesus use to pull up the fig tree? I know he used his car. He used his car. Well, you didn't know Jesus drove a car while he was there? All throughout the New Testament, it says that Jesus and his disciple traveled in one accord. They were all piled in that accord. When they showed up to the city, everybody was piling out of this vehicle, and people were like, that's why they were marveling when Jesus and his disciples showed up. It's like, wow, look at all those people coming out of the car. And like a clown car, and all the clowns coming out. Come on, that was a joke. Lighten up. But really, I want you to take a look at this. I want you to really, really ponder on this phrase here and what he's saying here. If you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also if you say to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, it will be done. And all things whatsoever you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive. Now, are there conditions for how you need to be for this to occur? Yes, there are conditions. For example, Jesus said, if you have anything, any issues with anybody else that you need to forgive them for, that if you have that and you haven't done it, that blocks your energy. That blocks God's ability to be able to work through you to be able to do these miraculous things. If you have sins that you have not asked for forgiveness for, see, it's talking about this forgiveness thing. It's a block. It's an energy block. And if you don't deal with that, you can't participate. You can't play the game. You can't do these things that he's talking about here. These moving mountains commands. Now, you may be able to reach your goals and things like that. But to really have this kind of power, to really have this kind of ability to manifest things in the physical universe, be able to manipulate matter, you have to have a clean spirit. It has to be white as snow. It has to have no blocks, no obstructions. And we know this is true on an energetic level. That's why asking forgiveness and having forgiveness of sins is so important. Because it cleans up the line of communication. It removes what Scientology would call the engram on the psyche. That small, that little recording, that little obstruction that keeps you from experiencing and being able to allow the flow of communication to flow through you freely without being diverted. Wow. It's all about energy flow and communication, man. And if you really think about it, you know that's true. So, what do? Well, you forgive. It's one of the commandments. Treat others as you would want them to treat you. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Learn. Learn about God and His principles. It's that easy. It's that easy. People have done it before. If you haven't seen the city of Petra, if you get a chance to see that, you'll see and understand and know that people created that, made the carvings by using these commands here. In my personal opinion. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this message today. And swirl it around in your noodle and think about these things, to see what it looks like. And try to picture yourself in these environments and what was really going on. What do you think was going on? God will share. He'll let you know. All right. Well, remember, share, like, and subscribe. And until we meet again, I wish you well.